you want to jumpstart your relationship with God, give up what you know, change what you want, and forget what you remember about your life. Now, this sounds like a frightening revolution and a proposal that frankly seems to undermine our personal identity. But the shocking words of surrender, change, and forgetting are merely a shorthand expression for realigning our lives with God. Let's work through this. If we haven't met, my name is Deacon Richard Hudzik, and I use this channel to hand on the faith. And what I offer in this video comes largely from St. John of the Cross, and particularly as he's interpreted by Father Donald Haggerty of New York City. Father Haggerty, to my mind, is one of the best writers today for those who are committed to a prayer life. I've offered some links in the description below to his books. They're wonderful. I've done some videos on them already. You will be richly rewarded if you pick up one of those books. But anyway, to get to the issue of the day, Father Haggerty tells us about the view of the human person that John of the Cross and John's contemporaries had. The thought then was that the human person comprised three elements. Each of us is 1, intellect, 2, memory, and 3, will. That is, each person has a mind and intellect that grapples with abstractions as well as trying to understand the physical material world around us. And additionally, each of us has experienced life, and those experiences remain with us in our memories. So much of who we are, don't you think, is what we remember. And finally, in addition to intellect and memory, there's the will, our desires, what we want, what we seek. Now, granted that maybe today we'd understand the human person in different terms, different terminology, but I think regardless, this 16th century anthropology is something that we can work with. And I do, for the moment, ask you to mentally hold that 16th century construct off to the side for just a second. Yes, to use John's framework, park that imagining of the person in your intellect and put it in your memory and desire, please, to come back to it in just a moment. I'm going to turn now to what our tradition has called the 3 theological virtues. We know them well: faith, hope, and charity. These are gifts. These are attributes of God that come to us from God and are not things that we solely by dint of our own effort that we acquire. We do have to be receptive to these gifts, but they originate from beyond us. And as we receive and nurture these gifts of faith, hope, and charity, they more and more animate and guide our lives. For example, with the gift of faith in our lives, we might come to understand that each of us is a child of God. Each of us bears an inherent dignity, not because of what we can do, but because we are loved by the Creator. Or maybe we see that human achievements in science and medicine are an unfolding discovery of who the Creator of all matter is. Faith leads our intellects as we encounter and interpret the world. The gift of hope allows us to understand our final and eternal destiny, as well as seeing the path we walk today as part of that project. Hope stands against the proposition that experience is meaningless or that there's nothing other than the material world. Hope injects the eternal into today. Charity, we think we know, it's about love. It's about giving, service, agape, surrender, caring, and sacrifice. Charity is about doing for others and caring for oneself in order to love God and love neighbor. So, faith, hope, and charity, 3 theological virtues. Don't leave home without them. Now, bring back John of the Cross and his anthropology of intellect, memory, and will, that stuff that we put off to the side for the moment. Bring that out and correlate that, John's construct, with faith, hope, and charity. And let's line up the human faculties with those divine gifts. And this is John's insight. And here we are at that jumpstart place I mentioned at the outset. So, combine the idea of intellect and the gift of faith. As one who both believes in God and who thinks, the gift of faith comes to occupy my mind and orients it to understand the world as a believer. My faith tells me how to understand the world. And my memory, add in the gift of hope so that what I remember will be in terms of how that experience moved me closer to heaven or farther away. How what I did was consistent with being a Christian, or maybe how it was incompatible with the call of Jesus. My memory, suffused with hope, teaches me to see my life as something eternally important, for good or for ill. And finally, my will, what I want. Here I replace what I want with what God wants. My small plans for myself might still exist, but now they are judged by a standard external to myself. Replacing my will with the gift of charity means I now assess my desires by asking the question, do my plans further God's love for creation? Do my plans bring delight to God or just to me? So that's John's offering. Swap, infuse faith into intellect, bring hope into memory, and bring charity into one's will. But two big problems immediately present themselves. First, John is asking us to surrender much of what might make us proud or motivate us. I mentioned at the very outset that this process of transformation can be threatening to who I am. On the one hand, we can say this is all terrific. Go for it. I could profit from some spiritual renovation. But on the other hand, we do find ourselves saying perhaps, well, I want to think for myself. I will not surrender my mind. Replacing my mind with faith sounds like a surrender to a fundamentalism that we in the modern world disdain. And the same objection might be raised with replacing will with charity and memory with hope. What's left of me, a person that I've so carefully or negligently created up until today? John is inviting us on a path that sounds at least painful, if not downright misguided. But bear with him for a moment. We've all heard that phrase, dark night of the soul, tossed about, and often, to my way of thinking, misused. It reminds me of that famous line in the movie Princess Bride, when Inigo Montoya says to Vizzini, "You keep using that word, but I do not think it means what you think it means." Too often, dark night is erroneously applied to depression or to feelings of abandonment, to being at one's lowest psychological ebb. Well, I don't think that's accurately depicting what John's dark night of the soul is. Rather, for John, the dark night of the soul is, at least in part, those painful feelings of dislocation that are caused by giving up what makes us proud, say our intellects, and subordinating that self-seeking part of us with the grace of faith. I may want to project an image of wisdom or being the smart guy, but perhaps painfully, but willingly, I give that up for a greater wisdom, the wisdom of God himself, the wisdom of my faith. But it might be a dark night getting me to that place. The same sorts of struggles and feelings of being adrift arise when I assess my memories by how they fit within the larger tale of my relationship with God. All those experiences of growing up or finding my way for the first time in the work world, all that stuff held in my memory. What does that tell me about my walk with God? Was I getting closer over the decades or farther away? What about being husband and father? Did I look like a disciple of Jesus in that? Perhaps those formerly sweet or seemingly insignificant memories speak volumes about eternity. It can be disorienting to have to reassess what you did. Similarly, I may feel threatened in a dark night, if you will, when what I had planned, what I want, what my life's ambitions are, become relegated to second place if those desires do not coincide with what I hear God asking of me. So yes, problem one with John's proposal, it's hard and it can be painful. But the promise is that it is all worth the struggle. Problem two, how on earth do we actually do this jumpstart program? Well, all I can do is tell you what I do, and maybe that will be good for you too. I am in a toxic relationship with my computer. It demands so much, but I do have on my computer a daily task list. And among other items on that daily task list, like exercise or don't forget to pray the Liturgy of the Hours, I literally do have a reminder to tell me to remember to reorder my intellect so that it is oriented to my faith. I also note that I need to seek to know what God's desires are for me for that day. And finally, I ask, how is my life this day going to bring me closer to my eternal destiny? And to ask how my life thus far has brought me closer or farther away from my ultimate goal. It's a daily practice prompted by my task list and my computer to practice to seek faith, hope, and charity. As I bump along during the course of the day, as both joys and challenges come my way, if I have situated myself in this reorientation of intellect, memory, and will by the light of faith, hope, and charity, there's new meaning available to me. And it is this new meaning that yields a new, deepened relationship with God. It's jump-started. Everything that I seek, think, and experience become opportunities to walk in that kingdom that Jesus came to announce, a kingdom that we know that is both now and not yet, that is both here and hereafter. My small intellect, my memories interpreted solely by who I was and all of my small, cramped desires. If all of that is solely of my own creation, well, all of that can conspire to keep me separated from the love of the God who died to save me. But with the theological virtues, those tinges, those glistenings of the Lord himself, the possibilities become endless and infinite. So, what do you think? Does this help at all? Let me know in the comments below about this program of jumpstarting. And then finally, if you found some benefit in this video, hit the like button. And if you're not subscribed, please subscribe. It helps the channel. God bless you all. I'll see you the next time. Take care.